All right, everybody. Thank you so much for pulling up to the Soul Sugar Joint. I am Brooks, and a lot can be said about my guest today. But really, personally, and why I think you should care is that I'm like a huge fan of 70s and 80s music personally. And my whole life, I felt like I was born in the wrong generation, like the wrong era. And it's crazy that there's just certain artists, there's certain producers who just remind you that you're at the right place at the right time. And when I listen to Flower Child's music, it's very indicative of like Roy Ayers' Ubiquity. Everybody loves the sunshine, the same kind of feeling. Or like I was able to tell you, like the bridge of Pharrell's Frontin' and Music Soul Child's Neo Soul, like all these elements mixed together. So I am like so excited to be talking with Flower Child today. And yeah, without further ado, this is Flower Child, everybody.
That was a great intro. Really,
Well, how you doing?
I'm good. I've just been very, very, very busy and just swamped with a ton of stuff, like in preparation for this tour. So
Yes.
yeah, my team is very, very small. It's literally just myself and my manager, and I just added one of my best friends as an assistant because I told her I was like, we're too overwhelmed. We need an extra hands, a set of hands to help us like get through this next couple months. So
Yeah, this is the Live from the Garden summer tour that you're talking about, right?
yes,
So tell me a little bit more about that.
for those who don't know, I used to do. It's been like 3.5 years since I did like my last like full band show or whatever. That was like December 2019, and we know what happened in 2020 and whatnot. So shows were kind of like at a standstill for a really long time. And I want to say around like the end of last year, like after the album was out, like we started having conversations with uh, a rep from a booking agency called APA, and he sent me a few offers to like open up for people, but it just financially it just wasn't making sense. Um, Mainly, I'm in a position now where it's just like you can't say yes to everything, even if it is a semi good opportunity. You got to make sure like I support myself fully off this now, so I can't like afford to, go out there just willy nilly. You know what I'm saying? So, I want to say around February, we just had a super transparent conversation, and it's like, well, you want to do your own tour? I'm like, yeah, I do. I think it kind of makes sense now at this point. He was like, oh, hell yeah, let's do it. And then he set it up within like I want to say like a month, and here we are. Announced last month, and we're literally 3 weeks away now. So
Man, that's exciting.
yeah,
And you're bringing your boys with you too, right? Gremlin,
I'm
Dice
bringing my
Groove.
brothers with me, which is I'm super grateful to have them like still in my life. We're closing in on like 10 years of friendship. We all met
Wow.
like freshman year, so it's just a blessing. That we've been able to maintain these relationships and that brotherhood. And now, the hiatus from COVID and whatnot is semi over. Um, yeah, we just have been able to like um, pour into that garden, and so to speak. And now we're here, and I'm just blessed to still have them in my life, still be creating with them. It's literally family.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
And with you kind of talked about it, like the lack of compromise, like you don't want to be compromising who you are, your sound. Even it sounds like the people that you have around you, even the fact that you're bringing somebody on who's a friend to help as an assistant, like from the research that I've done, it just sounds like you have an immense uh amount of like purpose and like mission behind what you're doing, even being from Atlanta and wanting to be, bringing R&B back to a primarily hip hop capital.
yeah.
Where did that come from? Is that something you were just raised with, or you just know how the game goes and you want to make different decisions?
Um, I want to say all of it just happened naturally. Like it's, I feel like a lot. There's a little bit of luck, but also there's just like natural timing with things. And like me coming up in Atlanta, that's just kind of what it was. There wasn't really like a ton of people making the music that I've was making and am still making. The community is growing, but I would say like there's not a ton of people like outside of my circle like kind of pioneering like a certain sound. I would say, um,
Mhm.
and yeah, if there's someone in Atlanta that's like making R&B or alternative R&B music, like 9 times out of 10, like I know who they are, like my homies know who they are. It's a very like small collective because, like you said, it's the hip hop capital, so it's a lot easier for you to shine because it's not a whole lot of people doing what we're doing.
Mhm. And what is that sound that you would, I guess, describe your music as?
Um, I get asked that a lot, and I have a different response every single time. I
Mhm.
really don't know. I like to call it good ass music, but I feel
Me
like
too.
the culture and uh, whether it just be the energy of the city, like I feel like my music encapsulates that. Um,
Mhm.
just kind of like the bright spot of Atlanta, just with blending of cultures. Whether you're going outside at night to hang out with your homies, it's not a whole lot of like super niche activities to do. It's very much so like strip club, regular club, hookah, lounge driven. And I love all of that. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I feel like my music reflects more of the rare activities within the city. Um,
Mhm.
yeah,
'Cause you guys have, like, a naturey scene out there too, right?
yeah, yeah. It's literally a city in a forest. That's the best way I can describe
Mm.
it. Like, you got the 60-mile radius of 285, which is like a big circular. What is it? Intrastate? It's not interstate, intrastate or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, outside of that, it gets a little weird. You know
'Cause
what
I even see it in your
I
visuals too, like the oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, 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 no. I was just saying, like, it just gets a little weird. It's less and less black people the further you go out.
Mm.
We're all
Mm.
centralized pretty much within like that 285 radius, like the metro Atlanta area.
Okay, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, you don't see those visuals in what you release. It's always, like, in the cut, in the forest, and
Yeah.
I even like the trailer that you put out for Love and Chaos, it gets that same feel.
That was like in I want to say the Sandy Springs area, which is like North Atlanta, North Fulton County. Um,
Okay.
there's a lot of that, like back home. You can go 15 minutes somewhere. It's just peace and quiet. There's nobody there. And I also feel like to further answer your question, the music is very reflective of that energy and that scenery as well. So you have like, just black people and culture, you coming together and experiencing that, but also I feel like the sound kind of gels with just like a beautiful day.
100%. And like, I'm so glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk about your media inspiration. Like, what do you see when you're creating? And are there any movies or shows that inspire the sound?
Yeah, definitely. I want to say like at the start of the album, I was watching a lot of black sitcoms, and one of the first ones was Living Single, and that's like easily a top two show of mine ever. That and Jamie Foxx show. Um, yeah, like when I'm like looking at those shows, I'm just thinking about like just black people and black love and what that looks like in an unconventional sense. And I feel like all of that kind of trickles back into the music and just like even my own personal situations. I feel like it's very reflective of the things that I see in those shows, like young black people in their mid to late 20s, even 30s, and how they deal with like relationships, situationships, and yeah, all of that like kind of plays a role in how I go about creating. Um, so as far as like the things I watched, I would say that those are very inspirational to me. Even movies like romance, and yeah, just living in my imagination. All of it comes together to create this thing.
Mhm. And like, do you have what Pharrell talks about that synesthesia?
Um, probably not. Probably not. Because
Okay.
when I heard them talking about that, I was like, that sounds cool, but I don't know if I got that trait. I don't know if I mess with that one. But I feel like, just experiences are just as cool or important as having that trait specifically.
Yeah, because I just your music is not only visual, it's immersive. Like, primarily, I think when I heard Garden, it's like it held on you and then it didn't let go. And then you also have songs on Love and Chaos that have these 2 parts in it or even 3 and 4 parts to it. And it's just like, okay, well, you thought that was good. Like, I'm not done. I'm not done. I'm not done.
No,
It's like you're
no,
gonna go deeper into this world.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. Just the creation of that album and having 3 in 1 type songs. Like, oh,
Uh-huh.
there's the main part, there's the bridge. Oh, but wait, we got an outro section to the song. So yeah,
Yeah, you were really showing off as the musician, as the producer, I feel like, because that's what's lost in a lot of albums is like jam breaks and like just letting music play out and not necessarily having anybody singing on it, but it still is about conveying this idea or this concept. So, what are some of your favorite albums that do that? Do you have any?
yeah, all 3 of them are over here by this snake plant that I have. Talking Book by Stevie Wonder, um, Mama's Gun by Erica Badu. There's actually one like somewhere else in the house, but I Want You by Marvin Gaye, um, the deluxe specifically. Trying to think, like, what are some other albums? Oh, In My Mind by Pharrell. Uh, literally every Tyler album, because every single Tyler album,
Oh man, he's a genius.
like Flower Boy and on. He just keeps getting better. Um, and Dwele, some kind of.
Okay. Nice choices. I tapped a little bit into Dwele because you are a huge fan of his, and from what I've watched and heard, it was like, okay, I need to tap in apparently.
Nah, Dwele is like I grew up on Dwele the same way
Yeah.
like our parents grew up on certain music. Like that's an artist I definitely grew up on for sure.
So your dad played a lot of Dwele or your mom or
My pops, my
okay.
pops is like the music guy. Like, you know, he's a band director. He's been a band director since 2001, I want to say. So
Okay.
like
Any
every
specialization in being a band director?
you said what?
Like specialization, like kind of band director? Like is it like a
Oh,
marching band or
yeah, so he's a
oh.
music teacher essentially. So
Okay, dope.
like during fall season, like he teaches concert band and does marching band during the fall season and everything. So yeah, full out music band director, whatever you want to call it. But I kind of had like I get a lot of my taste and inspiration based on like what I listen to from him specifically because he had me at a really young age, which it's like it's twofold, but I am really grateful for it because you know the things that he came up on was like Baduism and all of the great neo soul albums like Voodoo. Like mind you, he's in his early 20s listening to all of this, so obviously that's going to trickle down to me. So I got to give him a lot of props for that. Like it was,
Mhm.
yeah, it's my pops for sure.
So when it comes to neo soul, I would say it's like the mother of alternative R&B. Do you
It
have any
is,
thoughts on that? Okay.
yeah. I would definitely say that because when you listen to a lot of like alternative music and you try to think about like, dang, it has like elements of jazz, it has elements of like traditional R&B, it has elements of like alternative music as in like more folky type stuff. And you're like, wait, this like majority of this, 75% of this feels like it's inspired by neo soul music. It's just fresh, like super fresh.
Mhm.
I would say like we got a lot more things happening within the music uh, now outside of just your basic like Rhodes keyboard and with a good I don't know how I want to explain this because neo soul is so like complex. You have different like eras of it, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, I would definitely say that it's the mother of alternative R&B for sure.
So what are those eras? Like, please nerd out. Like, I want to learn as much as possible.
Gotta grab my phone. Give me a second. So an album that I always go back and visit is Saturday Night by Janae. That's another duo that I came up on. Um, and I feel like, what year was this released? Like 1997. So like
Okay.
I feel like that's kind of like the first album like gave you a lot of let's not do that one. Let's not do that one. I felt like way more traditional R&B, but still had elements of neo soul. I feel like they dove into that world a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Um, like
Because
mid to late.
Janae, isn't Amel Larue one half of Janae?
She's one half of I gotta look this up. This is gonna bother me.
I get them mixed up and it's so bad. But
Um
it might be totally different. Not Janae though.
I know it's hold on.
I'm gonna Google it
Right.
too.
It's Groove Theory.
Groove Theory. Okay, I don't know
Yeah,
why I do that, but yeah.
Groove Theory. Yeah,
Okay,
my dad
Janae
has
totally
that album
different.
too. Yeah, Janae, and then obviously Brown Sugar. Um, you have more like of the traditional hip hop elements behind the vocals and the chords within that music from like 1995 to 1997 ish. Same thing with Baduism. There's like like on and on. It feels very like it has a lot of characteristics of like the essence of hip hop behind it. You know, um, and as you move forward to like albums like Voodoo and Mama's Gun, there's a lot more live instrumentation behind those chords and whatnot. And I feel like they reached back towards the 70s for a lot of inspiration. And they kind of like figured out the perfect blend between like what they were doing in the mid to late 90s to the like literally 2000. A lot of incredible albums came out that year. But you got Words and Sounds Volume 1 by Jill Scott that came out that year too. So three of my favorite like neo soul albums came out in the year 2000, and it just kept going into the early 2000s. You got Music Soul Child. What's the name of the album? I'm tripping right now. Wow, it's one of my favorite albums too. Um, I know the name of it. Soul Star. I didn't have to finish looking it up. It was Soul Star. I had a brain. But
Wait, who's
yeah,
that by?
Music Soul Child.
Okay, so start, yeah.
Yeah, that's like I feel like his best album. Um, it's a sleeper for sure. A lot of people tend to forget about that one.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I feel like those are the different iterations I feel like soul has gone through, and then it kind of went through an experimental phase, especially with what Erica was doing in the mid 2000s with like her New America series and volumes. Um, and yeah, I'm trying to think of some other folks that like kind of encapsulate neo soul, Sarah and the Creative Partners, um, and Sarah and groups like Jay Davy. I feel like in that kind of like mid 2000s, like '07, '08, '09, kind of birthed like what we have now with
Okay.
so you got 1996, 97, all the way to like 2007, '08, '09. And that's how you have groups come about like the internet and whatnot. They're encapsulating all of those things in one project. So shout out to all of the people I just named
Seriously.
that like are really the foundation um, for what artists like myself are creating. I would say like secondary foundation because they were definitely like leaning back towards the '70s, which I've been doing for the last 3 years or so.
Yeah, and I really wanted to ask you about neo soul in general, so I'm really grateful that you went into depth like that because I know like the Lauryn Hills, the Jill Scott, Erykah Badu, D'Angelo, like the starting five, so Aquarians, all that. But
Yeah,
the different artists that you just shared, I'll definitely be looking into them because I love to talk about it, but I don't want to talk about nothing I don't know. And I love when people who are like heavy in it they can teach me like, no, this is like the B-sides. These are like the deep cuts. These are the things that if you know, you know. Like I want
Yes,
that
sir.
kind of information, you know?
Facts. I wanna say like a few years ago, the internet tweeted like around the time that they released Hive Mind, or maybe a little after, they were like, "We need to give J Davy their flowers because they're like a huge reason why groups like us exist."
Mm,
J Davy is still kind of like a sleeper. It's like one of those, if you know, you know. You know, I got put on like at the, the top of the pandemic, and ever since then, I've been like listening super hard to them. So yeah, super experimental, like neo soul and all.
mm,
Yeah.
okay. And even speaking of like experimental and going into like your outros or just instrumental portions of your songs, especially in Love and Chaos, it reminds me a lot of there's a specific song. I think it's either outro, outro, and there's a song you know it most likely, Sun Goddess, Earth, Wind and Fire,
Yeah, yeah,
Ramsey Lewis.
yeah.
And I know that you have Ramsey Lewis, like a reference to him in some photo shoot that you had, but could you speak about Ramsey Lewis and just like jazz in general, why you love it?
Um, man, Ramsey Lewis is incredible. Um, like I could really name a lot of different people. Like 70s jazz is definitely my favorite era of jazz because it was the most like experimental. Like they included a lot of like funk elements in what they were doing, which I really appreciate. And also I gotta mention this too. Like it was it was like Afro-Cuban rhythm meeting jazz. Like I did a whole like research project on Afro-Cuban like rhythm when I was in
Yeah.
college, like my I want to say my third year or something, and I learned a lot, like a lot. Like what people call Latin jazz is really Afro-Cuban jazz. You know?
Okay, distinctions, like what makes one different than the other?
Oh, it's just like a watered down term to call Afro-Cuban jazz that
Okay. It's
people.
like an umbrella term, but doesn't
Yeah,
get to the
yeah.
core. Okay, that makes sense.
Afro-Cuban is like the true essence of like what people call Latin jazz, essentially.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Erasure, crazy.
yeah. 70s jazz is all together, man. Like as a whole, like Ramsey Lewis is one of my favorites. And that was a great like reference. Where did you even see that from? Because I'm trying to think like when I posted about that. Maybe it was it the Love to You shoot? Because
It
we had
was
vinyl
I
on
don't
the.
remember what shoot it was, but I was just kinda looking at your visuals. I was trying to get an idea of that, and then I saw that you're holding a record. I can scroll through while you answer that question. I can find it.
Because I think that was like one of the first times I stumbled across a Ramsey Lewis vinyl. So it was very new to me at the time. Um,
Okay. It
but
might have been, like, 2018 or something like that.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. It's like this one album, like he's in the jungle with his piano. Um, let me see. Yep, Mother Nature's Son.
Okay, yeah, I see it right here. I don't know
This,
if it's gonna show up in my camera,
this album cover is so good.
but yeah, you were holding it up there. And that you said that those are some of the best album covers. Like,
That
I
too,
agree.
that ton of inspiration behind like I would say not all my covers, but like a few singles that I've done or joint singles. Like I'm very much so into like sensuality, and that's what they captured. Like they like sexuality and sensuality. Like the Ohio Players, their album covers were incredible.
Yeah, crazy.
One of my and even without like showing the sensual side, I feel like they did a great job of like capturing just scenery in general. There is it Hubert Laws or Freddie Hubbard? No, it's Hubert Laws. There's this one album cover where there's like this deep red canyon, like with the moon and stuff. Like I
Mm,
drew inspiration from like the Good Morning cover with me and Sebastian Michael um, for that one in particular, and then for another single, "Do to Me" with me and Gremlin. that one, I don't know, we just like we're thinking about all of the elements that I just spoke about, like with sexuality and sensuality. Like, how can we like tell a story visually through just a cover that is reflective of the subject matter within the song? And I feel like we did a really good job of that just
You
overall.
did. Yeah.
But yeah,
And it,
70s for the win with music and just visuals too.
for sure. Do you have like a list of like top three? It don't have to be top three, just three artists that someone should get into if they're interested in learning more about 70s jazz.
Ooh. I was gonna say Stevie Wonder, but he wasn't like a pure like jazz musician. But he included so many like me and my homie Alex, we talk about this all the time. We feel like Stevie Wonder uh reinvented like the 2-5-1 chord progression, which is like a standard jazz chord progression. Um, but yeah, I'm not gonna say Stevie, even though he's definitely one of my favorite artists of all time, and I draw a lot of inspiration from him. I'll go Herbie Hancock for sure. Um, Freddie Hubbard. Who's the third person I want to name? Hmm. It's a tough one because there's so many great musicians from the '70s. What I say, Freddie Hubbard, Herbie Hancock.
Would Donald Byrd be in there?
That's a really good one. We can throw that one in there for people who are trying to get more so into it. I feel like I kind of went like deep cut with Freddie Hubbard.
Okay. No, you did. You did. And even Bobby Humphrey too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he's great.
Oh wow, yeah. I got a bunch of jazz playlists on my phone, but like I'm never thinking of it as deep cuts because I just know the stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But yeah, if someone wants to get into '70s jazz, those are definitely 3, 4 musicians that they should dive into. Even Joe Henderson too. He had a lot of cool stuff that he
Okay.
released in the '70s as well.
Yeah, I'm not hip to Joe Henderson. I gotta look into him. Are you able to? Well, yes, you can. I don't know why I asked that, but anyways, I'm I meant to ask. Um, could you give three examples of like the 251 you were talking about? Is there like certain songs that Stevie Wonder has them in or moments in a certain song?
Yeah, like almost every bridge you hear.
Mm,
I'll go Golden Lady first. Um, is it You and I? Um, and then Looking for Another Pure Love. Um, he has so many songs like where he that's very much so. I think I named 3 so far,
yeah,
but
you
let
did.
me like be sure. So Golden Lady for sure, first one that comes to mind. Looking for Another Pure Love. Some of them are like your basic standard 2-5-1s. They're like altered voicings. Um, the End of You and I. Um, like the last 15, 20 seconds. Um, and then I want to say it's something from no. Um, As maybe I'm thinking about.
Mm, okay.
Yeah,
Now, for like someone who knows nothing about music theory, I asked for those examples because I would have to hear it to kind of understand what you're talking about. But is it something that, as a listener, it just evokes another feeling? Like it just kind of adds a new color to the song, and that's how you can
yeah,
tell?
1000%. Like all the, um, it feels like the moment of the song. Like it could be really dark. It could be a darker Stevie Wonder song, but that part where you feel it get really bright, that's when he's incorporating the 2-5-1 voicings. Um,
Okay.
like on the bridge on Golden Lady, right before he sings like the hook, like in that part that makes you just feel like you want a cloud. That part right there. And really, actually, like I'm trying to think, does it start off? No, no, no. It's the bridge specifically.
Okay. Did you put that same formula in your bridges?
Um, yeah, I did. I use a lot of 2-5-1 voicings for the album. I want to say like 70% of the bridges had
Okay.
2-5-1 voicings. Like I have a specific way that I like to play them, where I'm not gonna get too complicated,
No,
but
it's all good.
it's
And
it's,
I wouldn't mind if you did. Feel
it's
free.
definitely altered voicing, like where you drop the I think 3 and 5 a half step, or you can drop one or the other to give it a more like dirtier feel. That's what I did on Lucky Me. Um, what's another song I did it on? The intro, the outro. Today only comes once. Uh, um, Here with You, which is the second song on Break Me Down. I think Break Me Down has like yeah, that has a 2-5-1 voicing. Literally almost every bridge
Man.
on the album. But I tried to like kind of sauce it differently for each bridge.
Mm.
Um, but yeah,
But that's crazy. Like, it's just so interesting to me, and I love it because now there's like an actual science to. Well, there's always been a science, but like as someone who's just hearing it and feeling it, like I don't have that sort of understanding of that end of it.
mhm.
So it's really exciting to like put words to it
Oh
almost.
yeah, yeah. It's, it's it's not the easiest to talk about. Even when I'm like communicating with other musicians, like I'm still learning myself. You know what I'm saying? But really, all music is just a bunch of patterns and whatnot. And once you get those under your fingers, like you, for me, once I got certain things down under my fingers, it was able to help me develop my sound
Hmm. And
altogether.
like, what are some more examples of that?
Just basic like minor nine chords, which is like the stand. Like when I say that, I really mean like it's just your standard like uh alternative R&B or neo soul like chord. I guess I would say, but all of
Okay.
it is rooted like in like jazz. You see what I'm saying? Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, like every song that you heard from me, 90% of my music has like a minor nine chord in it or a major seven chord, or all the stuff that you hear Tyler put out. Like every bridge is literally a 2-5-1, um, or an altered voicing of a 2-5-1. It works every time. So
It does. Like,
every single time.
there was no misses when it came to Bridges on Love and Chaos. I was like, dang, this boy is good. Like,
It works every
woo.
single time. So now
Yeah.
I'm at a point now where I'm just trying to figure out like, all right, how can I like take that next step? Like, is it like just structuring my songs differently? Like where I make the hook the bridge, like yeah, just getting even more like experimental with what I'm doing and just trying new ideas.
Yeah. But it seemed like it was very compact. Like you had a really strong point of view with this album. And I don't know if you were able to talk about it a lot, but down to I really did hear the jazz influences in it, especially like K-Town funk at the very end when you have
Shout
the
out, shout out,
scatting.
shout out, the homies him for Raj. He's an incredible producer. Yeah, that was like one of the first tracks like where I was able to like go back and forth with another producer as far as like the drums and the chords. Like those cluster voicings that you hear in the beginning, like it's like really dissonant dirty chords. That was all him. And then like at the end, it was fun to like kind of like take it home. And Jada did the same thing too with the scatting at the end. Um, yeah, she's nuts. She goes by Von Black now,
Okay.
VAUGHN Black. Um, Incredible vocalist, songstress, instrumentalist, producer. She does it all.
That's so dope. Yeah, I definitely need to tap in. And even speaking more to your collaborations with Amber Navran,
Oh
that was wild to hear because I didn't even know her just like her stage name, her personal
yeah,
name. But then when I was hearing, I was like, hold up, that was wild. So please tell the story. How did that come to be?
I'm not gonna lie. That was one of the most straightforward collaborations I've ever had. Some are like way more difficult than others,
Mhm.
but yeah, like I just reached out via email. I want to say during like the first half of the creation of the album, she was just like, "Yeah, I'm down. I like how it sounds," and like
Wow.
She just recorded like a first verse, and she wanted me to sing on the second verse, but I was like, nah, I don't. I feel like it makes sense for you to just like tackle the whole song, and then she finished it, and yeah, it's out. Shout out Ember. Her voice is just so unique and just soulful. Is
So
she's such a
soulful.
sweet person too. Like she's
Mhm.
super down to earth and super kind. But yeah, that's how that collab came about. Very seamless. Didn't pose any problems or headaches. Because some collaborations will do that. But yeah, shout out to Ember for that.
Yeah, shout out to her. And if anyone's not familiar with her, Amber is from Moonchild.
Yeah.
And that's like, would you okay, so I know the debate of blue-eyed soul, like is it really soul, is it not?
That's the
Um,
essence of like neo soul, like Moonchild. Like that is like neo soul through and through. If
yeah,
anyone was looking for like neo soul today, that is neo soul for sure.
wow. No,
Like,
that's a crazy cosign because it really, I think that there's so much debate on whether or not a white artist could tackle a black genre,
yeah,
but they do it so well.
yeah. You got artists like or groups like Hiatus Coyote too. That their stuff is just very like what I was talking about at the very beginning, like just a clash of so many different genres. But they make it super experimental, which is really dope. So yeah, it's experimental, like experimental everything under the umbrella of R&B. I would say,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, that's real. And also LUJ, that collaboration with him, not necessarily on Love and Chaos, but in your other work. And what was it like working with him? Like, how did you guys actually connect and create a song together?
Um, so I met Ilu like in 2018. I want to say like virtually. I had put out like my first single as like a producer artist. It's called damn, I was about to call it the wrong song. Feel the Breeze. And like he just tapped in, and from there I opened for him. I want to say in February for his Adagio tour, and yeah, we just started creating a lot of different music, and pretty much how Aura Blue came about with him and Mia Gladstone. So yeah, just a lot of um, virtual sessions and virtual link ups, and then eventually you meet the person like 3 years later. It's kind of, but yeah. Shout out you. That's definitely somebody I got a lot of work in with during the pandemic year for sure.
Yeah. Oh, Iluje? That's how you say his name?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Ooh, I
It's a
butchered that.
difficult one. I thought it was Ella J at first. I didn't know what it
Yeah.
was, but yeah, it's like a play on his like first and last name.
Oh, okay. Nice. And I really loved Circumvent. That was like 2022, like top five for me. It was like I really loved Love and Chaos. I loved Circumvent, and I loved Hummingbird Black Party's album. Like
Oh man,
those are all no skips for me.
I was just listening to Hummingbird the other day. Um, anytime like I get really excited for Black Party's albums because it's just a vibe. I hate using that word, but it literally is just a vibe top to bottom. Like you could throw that on
It's a
anywhere.
playlist, like it's art, of course, but what I mean by playlist is like no skips. Like it feels like perfectly curated each song. The sequencing is amazing. The whole it's so cohesive. He's so talented.
Definitely, like you said, like, and then he closes it out with "Love You More Than You Know." That's yeah, a banger.
It is. Would you ever do something with Josh Gambino?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to talk about range. Like, I feel like I could go to him with like something I've been experimenting with, and he just tackle it with no issue. Like, he's very talented. Like, yeah, like in all like art mediums, he's very talented.
For real. Even Atlanta, how did you feel about that as an Atlanta native watching that show?
um, it's a great show, top to bottom. Uh, I love how like he was able to tell different stories within stories, especially like I think the second to last season and then the last season and how he closed it out. Like it just yeah. It's like one of my favorite shows of late. Oh, when did it come out? Like 2017. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was a great one.
Are there any other dream collaborations that you have? And I know you probably get that question a lot, but maybe we'll switch it up by like just bigger, larger than life, not even just only small artists, but artists that like they could be dead or alive.
Mm, it would be like amazing to do something with Stevie Wonder. Like like that's the bigger than life like artist for me. Marvin Gaye, um, and then to move more so on like some the modern stuff. Uh, Nerd, not just Pharrell but Chad too. Um, who else? Sid from the internet. That's someone who's like always been at the top of my list as more like recent artists who I would like love to work with. Um, who else? Who else? Dwele, of course. How could I forget him? Erica, really all the neo soul greats that I love. Um, and yeah, oh Timbaland, uh,
Oof. I'm just imagining that right now.
Sarah and the Creative Partners. I feel like something great would come from that. Robert Glasper, um, who's also like top five for me. I didn't mention him earlier, but Glasper is definitely up there. And yeah, I would say those are the main people for sure for me as far as like dead or alive. Um, I probably named more like legends than like current musicians, but that's just how it go. Like I,
Yeah.
but yeah, those are the artists I would love to work with.
And would you ever do like a fully instrumental album or release an album like instrumental version, like how Tyler's done?
Mm, I don't know. It's been that question has been like asked before, but it's been a while since someone has asked me like some years. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'd be more open to that idea now than I was before. Now that I have a better idea of like my sound and my artistry and like how I would approach like a fully like instrumental album versus making things to where it still has space for somebody to do something on top of the production.
Mhm.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Maybe someday we'll see.
Because that would be really dope. And I know that you've already inspired some smaller filmmakers in their music. I mean, your music being in some of their stuff. And I'll send you the link over because I wanted to make sure that you saw it. But
Uh,
it's really dope to see what your music can inspire. So, what has been a rewarding experience since you've created and started to take control of your career?
Starting and finishing my album, like that was a huge challenge because EP you're dealing with like 4 or 5 people, you know what I'm saying? But like an album, like you're dealing with your session musicians, you're dealing with all these different vocalists. It's so many moving parts, and you want it to do so well. You want it to be like your best body of work. It's like your baby. The EPs were like cool, but I had like a plan. I was like, all right, I'm gonna drop these 2 EPs. I'm gonna start working on my debut album, and like that was probably like my biggest accomplishment, and also my house, my crib. Just signing my first lease off of like music money.
Man, congrats.
Yeah,
That's
appreciate
really
it.
huge.
Yeah, and I signed a pub deal last year with radio, so I would say those are like my top three for sure. Like, because years of groundwork got me to this point to where I can say, all right, I'm paying my like bills off music money, which not everybody can say. So,
Mhm.
and I'm like very privileged and blessed to be in the position that I'm in. So, yeah, those are like my three crowning achievements. Finishing starting and finishing an album, signing a publishing deal, and like signing my first lease of like music money. So yeah,
Man, that's awesome. So
yeah,
happy for you, genuinely.
thank
It's
you.
inspiring to so many people. And I know that there's a lot of music heads and also producers and people who do music who enjoy Soul Sugar Joint. So, like, I know that they'll be like, okay, bet it can happen. It's doable. It's
It's
possible.
very doable. Like it's you just got to figure out what success looks like for you. For what success looks like for me is like basic necessities, but also being able to like live. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You know, I don't have to like travel somewhere every week. But it's nice to get out the house every once in a while. But to be able to do it off this is it's a blessing. But yeah, just not to like shoot down anyone's dreams, but like to get to a certain level, it doesn't work for everyone. Like, there's a lot of luck involved in this. Um, yeah, just figure out like what how it can be the most realistic for you and your lifestyle, and just figure out what success means to you and for you.
Yeah, that's good advice, genuinely. And what do you think success will look like at the end of this tour? What are you expecting from it?
Um, just want to figure out how I want to answer that. To be quite frank, uh, I can go into a lot of meetings now and kind of like lay the law a little bit harder,
Mm,
because I'm still very much so indie. A lot of people think I signed a pub deal and like like that like I have a ton of like support, which I do on the publishing side, but like my team, like I mentioned earlier, it's literally comprised of like two people. That's what it's been since the start. So to
mm,
piece all this together, come and my goal is to obviously have a successful tour, like, and then go into these meetings like, yo, listen, I self-funded like all of this, self-funded an album, self-funded a headlining tour. um where's that bag? Yeah, that's how I would answer that question. Yeah.
yeah. No, that's real. That's real. And I want that for you. So put some respect on Flower Child's name,
Hey man,
essentially.
if it makes sense for me, I'm definitely not about forcing anything, but we work hard, um and we want to enjoy the fruits of our labor. So patience, um will get us there though. So
Yeah, absolutely. So where are you going to be stopping on the Live from the Garden Summer Tour?
we start, so it goes from June 6th to the 14th. So the 6th is in New York at Baby's Alright. The 9th, DC at a venue called DC9. Back home in Atlanta on the 11th, at Masquerade Purgatory. Um, the back to back is on the 12th in Chicago at a venue called Shuba's, and then we're closing it out June 14th at the Peppermint Club in LA in West Hollywood.
Dope, dope. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows those dates because
Yes,
they don't want to
yes.
miss it.
You don't, you don't. I'm also finalizing like my next merch capsule. It's been a while, so yeah.
Yeah. Is it t-shirts, totes? What's it looking like?
Um, it don't even feel like merch. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Mm,
It's coffee mugs, it's keychains, it's teas. Obviously, you have to do teas. Posters, and then a photo book. So
dope. Ooh.
yeah, a
Okay,
little
come on,
twist
photo
on it.
book. Yeah.
A little twist on it. Yeah, that's kind of like my pivot into doing some other things. But yeah, like the people can definitely expect to see those items at these shows if they're still available. First come, serve. So that's what it is.
All I know is there better be some in LA because
Oh
that would be
yeah,
copy.
there will definitely. We got like a set amount of stuff. You know what I'm saying, for each
Okay.
stop. But yeah, I'll be sure to set something aside for you. at the LA show.
Oh man, that means a lot. Thank you so
Yeah, we got
much.
you. We got you.
Well, that is our time, but I really want to thank you for this conversation. It was so much fun. And where can people tap into your music and to you?
Oh, just type in my name, Flower Child. Literally every the way I spelled it was on purpose. So when people ask me this question, you don't see nothing but me when you type it in. So FLWRCHYLD on like all socials and all like streaming platforms. And yeah, that's where you can find me. This was a lot of fun too. I haven't nerded out like this like ever, low key talking about chord voicings and stuff like that.
No, I could have gone so much longer. Like I had one bonus question if you're okay with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I really want to know like your recent rabbit holes. Like has there been anything that has led you down a rabbit hole of like discovering new artists or who they're collaborated with or samples or anything like that?
Um, rabbit hole. Yes, I gotta find it. Hold on. Mm, what recent rabbit holes? I feel like there's maybe it's on my Spotify. Yes, a couple rabbit holes actually. There's this I don't know if it's a group from Korea or Japan, but it's called Pomoderosa. Very, very, very low key. It just I can't tell you how I stumbled across it either, but I started listening to it and I've been like on them very heavy. Um, it's like experimental jazz and R&B. Um,
Wow, from Korea?
yeah, or Japan. I can't. Yeah,
Oh,
or it might
Japan.
be
Okay.
from somewhere else. I like. There's no way to like translate the thing on Spotify. All I know is it says Pomoderosa.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I'll send that to you after the call. And I've
Yes,
also
please.
diving a lot more into my guy Marcos Valle. I've always loved Marcos Valle, but like his like evolution has been insane from like the mid late '60s all the way into the early 2000s. I'm like, what? Like you've always had it. Like, and every time I see like a new Marcos Valle song, I'm like, wait, this there was an album that came out like during this time in the '80s, and I'll go like on a deep dive with that. So yeah. Also, Ginger Root is a super fire overall musician, vocalist. I listened to him a lot while I was in LA last year. That's how I stumbled across him. Um, a lot more like alternative, like I would say just alternative based music. This that
Okay.
has little sprinkles of jazz and R&B. I would say. Um, but yeah, those are a lot of the musicians that I've kind of like been listening to and have had in heavy rotation. Um, but yeah, and obviously 70s music all the time. I'm constantly listening and adding like new Lonnie Liston. Um, trying to think who else. Um, yeah. Also, shout out to homies Planet Giza.
Mm,
They dropped a really incredible album. I
Planet
just
Giza.
Planet Giza, yeah.
Okay.
They
Fire.
got-
Yeah, I'm a fan of his, but I gotta tap in. I didn't even know that there was a new drop.
Yeah, so it's a group comprised of three. It's the so Tony Stone, who's like the lead vocalist slash rapper, he was on Conversations with Saturn on my album, and
Oh,
the homie Doom and Rami. So they're all incredible like musicians, and the album is insane. It's like
okay.
top to bottom. It's my favorite album of 2023 so far, and we're like almost halfway through the year. So that's saying a lot. I mean, they just dropped like early last month, but yeah, they are they are special.
Man, I just learned so much. I didn't even know it was 3 people. I didn't know it was the collective. But Planet Giza on Conversations with Saturn, that song was the truth. Like the I got hip to your music through a friend. She put me on to I think Wreck what
Check
is
My Life.
yes, Wreck My Life. She put
That's
me
an
onto that one.
interesting. That's an interesting song to get put on to because
Yeah,
it's
she was like, "I know you could do something with this." And I was like, "What?" And I was just listening to it like, "Oh my god." And then I got almost upset with my audience because I was like, "I know y'all heard of him, and I'm just now finding out."
listen. That was an interesting song she sent because people are more like more so driven to the true alternative R&B songs. I wasn't going for alternative R&B on that song. I was trying to flex my like other in like influences like Nerd and one of the newer guys. His name is McGee. So I was like
Yeah,
really
Mickey,
trying to
yeah.
tap into like my alternative like bag on that song. Obviously, like my splash of like like my sauce. I feel like it's all my sauce. I was just able to like flex those other influences that people hadn't heard or don't know that I'm like actually into.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, shout out to the homie Nathan Bahar, who's an incredible musician. He stays down the street. Yeah.
And even, would you say Tame Impala? If is there any influence there?
Not so much, but there's a lot of people I still listen to within the same like vein, like Mile High Club, King Gizzard,
Right.
and the Lizard Wizard.
Yep.
Yeah, so all of that kind of like came together and clashed to help me like make a song like "Wreck My Life." You know,
Okay.
doesn't have like your traditional like like R&B feel. I was definitely trying to go for more like alternative, like R&B meets rock, um, like kind of like new age nerd in a sense. I'm thinking about all of this like looking back on it now, like,
Mm.
but some of this like my goal was just to kind of like emulate something I heard and make it into my own.
Okay. Yeah. That's really interesting. Now I'll have to listen to it with that frame of reference now because I just gravitate towards those sounds. I think that there's a broad range in what you do, but you incorporate it together so well. And that makes a lot of sense that you mentioned McKee and Mile High Club and all these other folks that aren't necessarily 70s soul, but it's like that's what alternative R&B is. Like
Yeah, it's a
you would like,
concept,
yeah, it's a crossover of everything.
yeah, for sure, definitely.